Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 38 of a 95-part series of tutorials in object-oriented programming in C++. In this tutorial, we are going to continue looking at inheritance with our focus being on the second type of inheritance that we call multiple inheritance. My name is Mehmet JM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. What is multiple inheritance? Multiple inheritance is a relationship that is created when a single class derives its features from more than one base class. In C++, it is perfectly possible that a class inherits functions and methods from more than one class by simply separating with the commas in the declaration the different base classes which it derives from. For example, if we have a specific class to print on the screen by the name results, and we wanted that our class called C triangle inherits also its members in addition to those of a class called C polygon, we can write it as follows. So we have our class called class triangle. This is a derived class, but it is deriving its members from two other classes. These are the public class called C polygon and the public class called results. And then we can have the definition as usual. So in terms of a drawing, the class called C triangle is derived from the classes called C polygon and results and can be diagrammatically represented as follows. So as you can see, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have two arrows. One arrow is moving and pointing to C polygon, which is the first base class. And we have the next one, which is called results. So C triangle is inheriting some members of the class called results and it's also inheriting members of the class called C polygon. So in this case, this is what we call multiple inheritance. Why? Because a derived class is able to inherit members of more than one class. So in the previous presentation series number 7, we looked at simple inheritance, whereby a derived class was only deriving its members or inheriting its members from a single class. But in this case, we have a class called C triangle, which is a derived class, but this class is deriving its members or inheriting its members from both the C polygon and results classes. The general syntax, therefore, for multiple inheritance is as follows. We have the class or reserved one class, followed by the name of the derived class. We have full colon, and then we list the classes from which our derived class will inherit from. So we list the base classes. So we have the access specifier, followed by the name of the first base class, and then comma, access specifier, name of second class, comma, access specifier, name of that base class, etc. So a single class can inherit members from several base classes. Like in this case, we have first class, second class, third class. And then we have the opening brace and we do the definition of our class. So that's the syntax. Therefore, the following is therefore a sample program that implements multiple inheritance. So let's look at this program and see how we are implementing multiple inheritance. Our comment is computing area of a triangle. We have hash include our stream. We have using namespace standard. Then we have our first class, our first base class called cPolygon, and it has the following members. It has two data members of type integer by the names width and height, whose scope is protected. And then we have one method called enter values, which is not expected to return any value, neither is it receiving any value. And its definition is simply to display the statement enter values function has been called. So the purpose of this statement is simply to show us that the enter values function or method has been invoked. And then the next is it prompts the user to enter the width of the polygon. And then it's going to read the value entered and store it in the method or in the member, in the data member called width. Next, it prompts the user to enter the height of the polygon, and then the value which has been entered is read and stored in the data member called height. And that's what the method called enter values will be doing. And that's the end of the class called cPolygons definition. That's the base class. Then we have the next base class. This base class is called results. It has one public member method called output. This method or this function is going to receive one value. It is going to receive a value of type integer. And that the name of that parameter is going to receive one parameter. And that the name of that parameter is answer. This method is not expected to return any value to the caller, and that's why it is called void. Now, what is the work of this function? The work of this function is to display the statement output function has been called. And then it's also going to display the area of triangle with similar dimensions as that of the polygon. It will pick the value which has been received called answer, or that has been stored in the member called answer, and display that value on the screen. And that's what that method will be doing. And simply, that's what that class is going to be doing. Then we have our class called cTriangle. This class is the derived class. It's going to inherit the properties of two classes, one of them being cPolygon and the other one being results. And that's how we implement multiple inheritance. Now, as you can see, this class called derived class, or this derived class called cTriangle, is also going to do the following. It's going, or it has one member, public member, or method called area. It's not going to receive any value, but it's going to return a value. And what is this function going to do? It is going to simply read the value stored in the member called width from the derived class or from the base class and multiply that value with the value in the other member called height divided by 2. And the result is going to be sent back to the invoking function. And that is the end of the cTriangle derived class. So as you can see, the cTriangle derived class is going to inherit the data and the methods of the classes called cPolygon and results. And therefore, we expect that this derived class is going to access those members and also perform the required operations, as you can see. Then we go to the main function. Under the main, we are going to declare, or I have declared one instance or one object for manipulating the derived class called CTriangle. And therefore, CTriangle or TRG1 is an instance of the derived class called CTriangle. So its type or data type is CTriangle. And then using this object for the derived class, we can be able to invoke, or we are invoking the function or the method called enter values. Where is this function defined? The function called enter values, as you can see, has been defined in the base class called CPolygon. So you can see that the derived class is able to invoke the enter values method, which is a member of the base class called CPolygon. And once that is done, once this statement is invoked, then we are going to have the compiler performing the following activities. It's going to prompt or it's going to display this statement and also this other one, prompt the user to enter this value, store it in the method or in the data member called width, prompt the user to enter the height, pick the value which will be entered and store it in the member called height. Next, once that is done, the control will be brought back to the main function and the next statement will be executed. And this is the next statement. Now, what is this statement doing? This statement is invoking the member called area, is invoking the function called area, which is in the derived class, but through the other member called output. So how will this program work? How will this statement work? So output has been defined in the class called results. So what it is going to do is that the program will display this statement. It will go to output method or function, perform this activity, generate the value called answer. But as you can see, what I want you to understand is that this function, let me go back again to show you. Now, when this statement is executed, the first member or the first method that will be invoked is area. After invoking area and generating the value, that value is going to be sent as a parameter to the other method or function called output. I repeat, when this statement is invoked, you can see that the function called area has been included in the invoking statement as a parameter. What does that mean? It means that when this statement is executed, the function called area, which belongs to the derived class called CTriangle, will be invoked. And therefore, once this function called area has been invoked, it is going to generate a value. That value will be sent back to the calling function. So it will be sent back here to this statement, to the main. So that value which will have been generated will then be passed over to the other function called output. So the value that will be generated as an area, that value will be passed over to the function called output. So it is going to be passed over to the function called output. Output is a member of the base class called results. So that value is going to be received as answer. You can see it is of type integer. Once that value is received, of course, the function will display this statement on the screen and this statement, and then pick the value that has been received as answer and write it on the screen. Good. So that's how this program is going to work. Once that is done, the control will be brought back to the calling program. The compiler will send back the control to the main function, and then the next statement to be executed is return 0, which tells the compiler that it is done with this program, and therefore the control will be taken back to the operating system and the program will end. So that's how this program is going to work. So the following is a demonstration on how this program behaves when coded, compiled, and executed using C++ program. In other words, my dear students, the rest of the learners, let us now type this program in our C++ program and then see how it is going to behave. So we are going to start our C++ program as usual. So I'm going to begin or to launch C++ program. And then we proceed as usual. So let's launch our editor. So in the to console application, I'll call this project multiple inheritance. That's the name of my program or my project. From there, let me click on empty project. Remember, you can follow any process to launch your C++ editor if your version is different from the version that I'm using, but the program will remain the same. The source code will be the same. So let me have the name of my program being multiple inheritance. Remember, if you don't understand the steps that I'm carrying in this presentation to launch my editor, go back to presentation number 1 of this series and follow them step by step up to this presentation so that you can gain clear understanding. Now, once we have been able to launch our editor, you can type your program here. So you can call this program on your C++ editor directly, but just as I've always said, it is bad programming practice to code your program directly on the C++ editor. Always write your program on a piece of paper or exercise book, dry run it on that paper, or type it in a word processor like Microsoft Word, dry run it from there, and then once you are sure of what you have done, you can be able or you can proceed and copy and paste your program in your C++ editor. So in my case, I have my program here. This is my program. It is for computing area of a triangle. I have already typed it in my word processor. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy my program and then I'm going to paste it on my editor. So I'll paste my program there. So that's my program. Then you can save your program. Once you have coded your program in your editor, you can then proceed and compile it. Remember, if you're using other versions of C++ program, you can always look for the menu for compile. You click on it, you compile. If your program has no errors, you'll be receive this message that compilation has been successful. If it has any errors, the compiler or the translator, the compiler will not be able to convert your program, your source code to object code, and therefore you have to do the corrections for that source code or in that source code, and then you compile again. If there are no errors found, it means that our program has been compiled to object code successfully, and therefore we can execute it. To execute, we are going to click on debug and then click on start without debugging. But if our program has errors, we will do the debugging. So you can see that after executing my program, we are being informed that enter values function has been called. Then we can proceed, enter the width. You can see that already through the derived class called C triangle, because this object is for the derived class called C triangle, we are able to invoke the function called enter values, which is a member of the class that is called C polygon. So this is the section that is being executed for now. So let's enter our width. I'll enter 4. You can see the next statement in our enter values method under the C polygon class is to prompt for the height. So I can enter 2. And then once we press enter, we expect that the area will be computed and also the result will be displayed. So you can see once I pressed enter, we are receiving this information here, meaning that the member, the function called output, which belongs to the base class called result, has now been executed. But before that, you can see, just as I've said, the area function is computed first. So the C triangle is able to pick the value stored in the member of C polygon class, this member called width, and the member called height. And it is able to compute the area. And now send that value of the area to the member called output under the class results. And that value is the one which is going to be displayed. So as you can see that output function has been called. The area of triangle with the similar dimensions as polygon is 4. You can see after computing the area, what we have gotten is 4, and that 4 is what is being displayed on the screen through the function called output, who is a member of the class called results. And with that, you press any key to continue, meaning that the control has been taken back to the operating system. So my dear students and the rest of the learners, that's how we implement multiple inheritance. So you can see from this program that the derived class called C triangle is able to access the data members of the class called C polygon, both of them. It's also able to execute this member or this method called enter values. At the same time, the same derived class called C triangle is able to invoke or is able to execute this function called output, which is under the base class called results. So at the end of the day, the derived class called C triangle is making use of all the methods of the class called C triangle or C polygon, is making use of all the members of the class called C polygon, and also the members of the class called results, just as if those definitions were part and parcel of its definition. And therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, it's important for you to know how we implement multiple inheritance, just as you have seen. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 38 of the series in which we have looked at multiple inheritance. You can now continue to part 39 of 95, in which we are going to learn about how to implement what we call, or the type of inheritance that we call multi-level inheritance in object-oriented programming. And with that, may I congratulate you for learning part 38 of 95 on multiple inheritance in object-oriented programming. You can access videos for the other parts in object-oriented programming series, as well as other computer or ICT videos, by clicking or tapping on EmerySwap ICT YouTube channel below this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel by tapping on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me, and God bless.